Hello, I'm Andrew Mearman. As part of our LITE Fellowship project, Ruth Payne and I explored the crucial role of student expectations in their welcome and induction to university. In this short video, we present brief findings from our research that we presented to the European First Year Experience Conference in June 2021. Welcome to the tangle of ropes that is welcome, induction and transition. Clearly, transition and induction are contested concepts. Nonetheless, we take the view that the process of induction should help students get a sense of belonging and actual belonging and help them get to know the ropes of university. Also, though, transitions vary. Rather than a linear process being uniform for all students, induction is more like spaghetti or, yes, a tangled set of ropes. It's well known that mismatches of expectations with experience lead to students leaving university or underperforming while they are there. Literature suggests that students' expectations are influenced by the information they've acquired about their university programme from websites and professional literature or by pre-entry activities. Students' previous educational experiences and siblings or family educational experiences can also influence their expectations. Apart from that though, we don't know that much about how expectations are formed, so this is what we set out to explore. In 2019-20, pre the COVID pandemic, we conducted 21 semi-structured interviews with mainly new students at a research-intensive UK university. Students were selected purposefully to capture a diversity of backgrounds, and here we reflect the realist approach of recognising that no intervention, here an induction programme, will ever always work, but only for some, for different reasons, in different contexts. So we asked 4 key questions. Firstly, what were your expectations of teaching? What were your general expectations of university life? What were your main concerns about university? And where did you get your expectations from? Who, if anybody, gave you any advice? A theme that emerged very strongly from our interviews was the challenge of independence. Whilst independence is liberating, it also creates decision fatigue and difficulties in meeting workload demands. For our students, particularly initially, the social aspects of independence are the most challenging. Only later do they focus on academic independence. Key here though was that our interviewees really had no idea about what independence was. Many had heard of independent study but didn't clearly understand it, and their schools and colleges hadn't prepared them well for this. The university tries to build the notion of independent study in its welcome activities and early teaching, but still students felt they were mainly working this out on their own. Whilst most of our students were eventually okay with independence, it had been a real struggle, and some of them asked for much more support in helping them make the transition. So what were their sources of expectations? Well, parents don't seem to be an important source of guidance, perhaps because their experience is regarded as a bit too remote to be useful. They were listened to on life skills like cooking and budgeting, and in being encouraging and supportive. One student's mother advised them not to waste your time on things that aren't important, and assured them that it's the most fun you'll ever have. But the students said that they understood now that university is more serious than when their mother attended. Instead, peers, people usually a little older, including older siblings, appear to be much more trusted in terms of giving practical advice on study and on negotiating the university experience. Some of our interviews felt that they would have gained a lot from talking to older current students, particularly about things like assessment. So peers are trusted, but not necessarily helpful. In some cases they reinforce high expectations of university being the best days of your life, and in creating unrealistic and quite intimidating expectations for social behaviour. Schools and colleges prior to university were generally not regarded as good sources of information. A number of our interviewees said that their schools and colleges were more focused on simply getting them into university. Consequently, no one ever told them how to learn at university. Instead, again, guidance came from older peers who were already there. What about universities themselves? Well, in some ways, via their marketing, universities can reinforce what students considered misleading expectations of how good the experience will be or how much support they'll get. Nonetheless, several students cited open days or visit days as being really helpful in forging expectations, or more precisely, giving them a taster of the experience of university, helping them address culture shock. Sample lectures that simulate the experience of walking into a theatre, seeking a seat, settling in, perhaps listening for a sustained period, may help to demystify the lecture, something all students express some concerns about. Wider cultural influences such as movies and TV shows can affect expectations, for instance affecting students' prior view of what a lecture will be like. This can be helpful, hinting that taking a laptop into lectures can be useful for note-taking. However, these cultural influences can create concerns too. One student expressed an explicit concern about the recurrent theme of the stereotypical debauchery of the US frat party. They were relieved to find it was not the case at university and that opportunities for socialising were much more diverse than that. As is common for new university students, in forming their expectations, our interviews drew heavily on their prior educational experience. They made many comparisons with school, mainly about interaction in class, contact with staff, the structure or lack of, the need for independence, the size of the institution, and also sometimes their relative anonymity. A particular concern here was for students who entered via vocational qualifications rather than A-level. They found exams very alien, plus the assumption by staff that you will have done this at A-level sometimes amplified their feelings of imposter syndrome. Overall then, what does this mean for universities themselves? If they want to lower dropout rates and allow students to flourish, they need to engage more openly with students prior to entry, create realistic expectations, but also adapt their practice to existing student expectations. The pre-arrival period, and extending it, is a crucial time, and early and sustained interactions with staff and peers can really help. Here, personal tutors and peer mentors are really important, and our findings suggest that expectations calibration needs to be a key element of both of these. Thanks for listening.